What's going on YouTube? Imperial Diecast here. Today I want to talk a little bit about this beautiful Maisto Roadster in front of you, which is the Mercedes-Benz SL550. Personally, I think that this is the most beautiful roadster slash convertible that Maisto has ever made. Let me begin by telling you a little bit about how I got this car. This car is of significance to me because this is the second scale 118 car that I bought in my life. It was a couple years ago, and I felt like I had to compensate for a Mercedes-Benz that I had been gifted to in my childhood by my parents, which unfortunately on the same evening as I got it, I ended up wrecking it. It was a scale 124 Mercedes-Benz Roadster in blue. That's the only thing I remember about it. And my parents were upset with me the same day where they gifted it to me because I was being naughty again. I think I was like age 5 or age 6, something like that. That upset me more than they were upset about me, because I felt like, how can the same people who gifted me something just 2 hours or 3 hours later be so upset with me? And in revenge, I broke off the doors of that and completely wrecked that Mercedes-Benz. That was a fit of rage that I regretted for the rest of my life, because I don't even remember what kind of a car that was, but I felt real regret after doing that. And so that act of mine has haunted me ever since, and so I felt like I had to compensate for it. So a couple of years ago, a brick and mortar store close to where I live was having a sale on their model cars. I think it was like 15% off or something. So I thought I'd go there and buy something, and then I saw this in the showcase. And I said to myself, this may not be the same color as that car of my childhood, but it's a Mercedes-Benz, it's a roadster, so I'm going to buy it. And little did I know back in the day what kind of a good decision I had made, because this really turned out to be a fantastic model car by Maisto. I think I paid around 30 euros, give or take, because it was on 15% off back then. I think I bought it in the year 2012 or 13. Anyway, that's enough background story, let's get to the review. Apart from the AMG GT Roadster, you'll find most of Mercedes-Benz's convertibles in the SL class. The designation SL comes from the German sportlich leicht, meaning sporty light. Note how the Roadster versions of the SLR McLaren and the SLS AMG also fit into this class when it comes to the designation. This particular car, which is the SL550, is part of the R230 generation that replaced the R129 in 2001, underwent a facelift in 2008, mostly recognizable by the different headlights, and was replaced by the R231 generation 2011 onward. The SL550 runs on the Mercedes-Benz M273 engine, which is a 5.5-liter V8 with 382 horsepower at 6,000 RPM, a top speed of 250 km per hour, and capable of accelerating from 0 to 100 km per hour in just over 5 seconds. The real car cost around $100,000 when it was released, but it depreciated really fast, and these days you can get one in the mid-30K price range. Despite being a couple years old, I have to say that this still is a very nice looking car. And the best thing about it is that it's made by Maisto, which is a budget manufacturer. And so you can get this car for relatively cheap. You don't have to pay Norev or Kyosho prices for this one. I think even today you can get this car for approximately 35 euros plus shipping if you check on eBay. I'll make sure to leave a purchase link in the description below. Let's take a closer look at the front of this car. The car comes in this nice metallic dark red or burgundy red, and I believe this is also the only color that this car was made in. Looking at the front of the vehicle, the first thing you'll notice is the giant chrome Mercedes-Benz star that is covering the front grille and is flanked by a single chrome slat on either side. This is a departure from the earlier pre-facelift R230 design, where there were several slats on each side. Above that, we have the Mercedes-Benz emblem, and you can see that it says Mercedes-Benz, just like on the real car. A closer look at the front grille reveals that it is not perforated, but it does have a square-shaped texture. Down below you have the license plate, which I will get to later on. And now let's take a look at the headlights. On first glance, they look like everything is made out of chrome and therefore kind of like a mess. But then if you look closer, you will see that it does have two bulbs as well as the blinker at the top. And the good thing about it is that there are no pegs. Down here you have the fog light, also made out of chrome. And we also have these indentations for the headlight washers. Here's the other headlight. Perhaps the individual bulbs are better visible here than they were on the other one. Again, the fact that everything is made out of chrome and the reflections inside because of the curvature of the material makes it kind of difficult to see. But there's actually a lot of detail here when it comes to the lights themselves. Now let's take a look at the hood. The first thing you'll notice is that it has these two hood power domes. Further up we have some hood vents. And here we got the windshield. We move on to the car's side profile, which looks good. And let's take a closer look at the rims. So what we have here in the real world would be 19-inch 5 split-spoke AMG rims. You can see the Mercedes logo in the middle, as well as the individual bolts and lug nuts surrounding it. And back there, we have a brake disc and a brake caliper. The brake disc does not move, unfortunately, with the wheels. It's completely stationary. And the brake caliper does not have any lettering on it. Here we are at the back of the car. The first thing you'll notice are these wraparound taillights, which do have a peg in them, just like on the previous older R230 SL550 model by Maisto, which was also convertible and had a peg in the taillights. But the difference here is that if you look at it horizontally, part of the tail light has a smoked section, which is a nice way to actually cover up these pegs. You can see that is the case on the other tail light as well. And so from a distance, it actually looks quite nice. We have the SL550 branding up here, and the Mercedes star, and the reverse light up there, which is unfortunately just some paint. Now let me talk a little bit about the license plate. This is a realistic European Union license plate. D stands for Deutschland, which is Germany, but the realism goes one step further. The S is the official registration letter for the city of Stuttgart, which is also where Mercedes-Benz is headquartered. And right next to that you have the emblem of the state this is in, which is Baden-Württemberg. And keep in mind, this is just a Maisto. I'll try to zoom in as much as possible on this one, but you can see that even the emblem is accurate to the state where this is from. Moving on further down, we have chrome-tipped exhausts. Unfortunately, they do not have an actual hole, but instead everything is made out of chrome. An easy way to remedy this would be just to take a black Sharpie and color it in. Now let's open the trunk. My camera has trouble focusing, but you'll see that the trunk is actually quite roomy. There's a lot of storage here. Here's my fingers as scale comparison. So you can store a lot of stuff in here, and this is in real life where the top deck of this car would be. Because keep in mind that this is not a soft top, but a hard top convertible. So the real car has an interesting mechanism where this part would bend backward, and then the hardtop mechanism would slowly slide over and cover the car. And this is a process that takes 16 seconds on this generation. The main reason why those couple years ago this particular model caught my eye during the sale was not only the fact that it was a convertible, but because it had such a nice interior. And this is the reason why I believe this is still the best Maisto convertible ever made. Because, while Maisto has made other convertibles as well, the interiors there have usually just been completely black. Whereas here you actually have an interior that is dual color. You have a black dashboard and cream seats. But the detail doesn't stop there. You can see that the steering wheel is also multicolored. It has all the details necessary. We have the rear view mirror done nicely up there. And the doors themselves have plenty of detail. What you see here is an automatic gear shifter. Further up is the sat-nav. All the bells and whistles are there, from chrome-trimmed air vents over the instrument panel that contains a series of stickers that mark the rev meter, the speedometer, etc. You have your floor pedals made out of a matte silver back there. And you even have door sill branding, which I'll show you from the other side. The door sill branding says Mercedes-Benz. Furthermore, we have seat belts, although the belt buckles aren't painted, but they are featured. And we have the holsters as well. And what's also interesting is that we have this on each of the two seats. This is an AIRSCARF system where the hot air is blown onto the seat occupant's neck to improve their driving experience during colder days. This system was apparently invented by a patent-owning prick named Ludwig Schatzinger, who sued Daimler AG for over a decade until a German court settled the lawsuit in his favor and banned Mercedes from selling any more models with this system in the country. So thanks to that guy, you're not seeing this system in modern Mercedes-Benz cars anymore. Anyway, we'll conclude this interior section by another glance at the center console, and what you're looking at right there is a 7-speed automatic gearbox. Even the buttons around it are painted properly, and you can see that they tried to emulate that wood grain trim. And I think overall this is one of the nicest interiors that are on any Maisto ever made. The front wheels swivel and the steering corresponds to it. One thing I like about Maistos is that even though the engine cover is made out of metal and looks quite heavy, the engine does not need a hood prop and actually manages to stay open without any issues. The hood opens about this far, which is pretty impressive, and this is the engine that I was talking about earlier. You can see the Mercedes-Benz logo in the middle, both in the form of the star and in the form of the logo, and while I get the feeling that this entire engine is just a single plastic piece, and that it doesn't have much depth or much detail, what's interesting is that the real engine, whose picture I'm going to be showing you right now, is not that much detailed either. So I think Maisto has done a pretty good job in mimicking what the engine would look like on the real car. Unfortunately, they did one big mistake, and that mistake is that this engine is not that of an SL550, but that of an SL500. The engine of an SL550 would look like this, and unfortunately, Maisto apparently was not interested in creating a mold for this particular engine, which is why instead they decided to use the SL500 engine and put it into the SL550 model. So this might be an extra detail that will upset some of you, but for most people I don't think that is a big issue. Taking a quick look at the underside, you can see that it says Mercedes-Benz SL550 scale 118 by Maisto, and what you'll notice immediately is the drive shaft made out of chrome, going all the way from here to back there. The muffler is also made out of chrome, ending in the dual exhausts. So my final verdict on this car is that even though they got the engine wrong, everything else is just perfect. I mean, for a Maisto, this car is nothing short of extremely impressive. And if you haven't gotten this car yet, I would suggest to get it. It is definitely worth the price. This is Imperial Diecast. Make sure to subscribe, like, and comment on this video, and I'll see you in the next one.
Make the ground shake.